Chapter 30. Tuesday late afternoon. It was late afternoon, heading toward dinner time, but if Doreen visited with Nan for a bit, she could eat when she got back. With the animals in tow, she walked down to the creek and stopped, amazed as it was even higher yet again. It wasn't dangerously high, it was just amazing to see the water rush by at a terrific rate. The sun shone and twinkled as it danced across the moving surface. Muggs got a little too close to the creek's edge for her comfort, and she tugged him back in fear. Goliath, on the other hand, was on the other side of the creek, a long way away from the bank. Thaddeus squawked and rushed toward her, trying to jump onto her shoulder. She gave him a palm, and he hopped up to her arm, then to her shoulder and to safety. Obviously, he didn't like the rush of water either. "Thaddeus is here," he crooned. "Thaddeus is here." Doreen rubbed her head gently against his and said, "I'm so glad to have you here." Together, the four trooped down toward Nan's place. Doreen wondered how long they could walk the path before the high water levels forced them to go another route. That would be sad indeed. If there was one thing she adored other than Nan and her animals, it was walking along the water. Something was so freeing and so special about it. As she walked, she remembered her conversation with Jude, and wondered how bad this would get. Should she tell Mac? Then she decided she probably should. She took out her phone and called him. "Now what?" he growled into the phone. "Hi, Mac. How are you?" she asked in a sarcastic voice. "Are you home yet?" "Yes," he said. "Where are you?" "I'm on the way to Nan's." "Good. What's up?" "After I talked to you, he called me." Doreen relayed the call as they came up around the turn on the creek, after the last of the residential fencing. "Interesting," Mac said. "So he seems to have a vendetta against you, which is probably what you can expect after you attacked him publicly." "Whatever. Just checking in to let you know. I'm coming up to Nan's, so I'll talk to you later." She pocketed her phone again and smiled as Nan stood there, a teapot in her hand. She put the teapot down and bent over as Muggs tried to get away from Doreen so he could go see Nan. Doreen let go of the leash, and he raced across the flagstones and hopped into her little patio. Nan laughed. Fred stood on the other side of the lawn, glaring at Doreen and her animals. Doreen smiled and gave him a nice wave. "I saw some of your brother's work online," she said. "He seems like a really nice guy who does lovely woodwork." And then she turned away and sat down at the little patio. She loved Nan's bistro set. It was perfect for the two of them. It was a small table and a little crowded sometimes when Nan brought out a lot of things, but it was cozy. Nan greeted the rest of the animals, and Thaddeus, not to be outdone, hopped onto the table and walked over to Nan. "Thaddeus is here. Thaddeus is here." Nan chuckled and gently stroked the bird. "I'm so happy to see you, Mr. Thaddeus." His head bobbed up and down as if to say, "Of course you are, of course you are." Doreen laughed. "I have to admit it. The animals keep me on my toes." "They're quite a handful, aren't they?" Nan said. "Very much so," Doreen said. "But all very worth it." Nan poured the tea and asked, "So what kind of trouble are you in now?" "The usual. I don't really have any evidence. I don't have much except lots of supposition, so I pushed a button on that nasty little son, and he's been pushing back." "Oh, really? How badly?" Nan's eyes lit up. "Tell me," she said. "Let me see if I can help." Doreen told her about going to Abbott Street to see the Burns estate and getting sidetracked once or twice with garden talk, and then told her about collecting Jude's recycling. At that, Nan stared at her. "You dug in his garbage?" Doreen shook her head. No, not his garbage. The recycling bin. It was all pizza boxes, but I also found this stack of paper. Mac is not happy with me." "Of course not," Nan said. So, what was in the paperwork? Doreen hesitated. Nan's gaze narrowed. You can't tell anyone, Doreen said. Nan huffed. You have to promise, Doreen said quietly. No betting pools, no going off and talking to your neighbors, nothing. Nan raised her hands in surrender. Fine, she said, but life was never so interesting before you arrived. Then now, with all this hoopla, you're such a stickler for not letting me share. You sound like Mac. I could have such fun with these tidbits. It could get me killed, Doreen worried. Immediately, Nan sobered. Right, she said, let's stick to what's important. At that, Doreen explained about what Mac had done, fishing on the phone. Nan's jaw dropped. She lowered her voice into a hoarse whisper. He talked to the killer? Doreen nodded. We think so, yes. But now Mac's gone to the captain because Mac didn't pick up the recycling. I did it. They want to confirm they can use it for evidence. I never thought of that, Nan said thoughtfully. She nodded. Very, very important. But it still doesn't help us with Fred and Frank, Doreen said, lowering her voice as she looked around. I don't know if we can do anything about them, Nan said. Their parents just went missing. And Henrietta too. Remember? Doreen added. And Henrietta. Nan nodded. Everybody here thought they went back east. Except for the fact the parents and Henrietta were legally declared dead 7 years after they went missing, so they didn't just go back east. They might have originally gone back east, but then they went missing, never to be found again. Right. Nan nodded in a wise manner. Doreen just chuckled. See? Instead of just the one Darbuncle mystery, we now have the Burns mystery, so 2 mysteries at once. But it doesn't really mean it's a mystery, Nan said. For all you know, one of the Darbuncle parents ended up with a crippling disease, and they decided to self-terminate. Self-terminate? Doreen rolled that term around in her head. That sounds a little dodgy, doesn't it? Call it murder-suicide if you want. It's all dodgy, Nan said with a chuckle. She looked down at her tea. Too bad I don't have any more zucchini bread. I still have some at home, Doreen said, although not much because Mac had several slices. I ended up sharing another loaf around here too, Nan said. I saved myself 1 piece and I had that this morning. I'm fine without it, Doreen said. Do you need any more veggies? We keep getting baskets of it here. Nan hopped up, returning a few minutes later with more of the same fresh vegetables. They divvied up some for Doreen to take back. I'll make a big salad for dinner, Doreen said, maybe add a can of tuna or something. You do that, Nan said. I have a couple people here I could talk to. Let me get back to you on those mysteries of yours. Are we talking about Ed Burns, or are we talking about the Darbuncle parents? Both, Nan said thoughtfully. You never know who here might know something. True, Doreen said, but we have to keep it on the down low. Will do. As soon as they finished their tea, Doreen picked up her fresh veggies, gathered her crew, and headed back up the creek. She took her time, the sun was beautiful. As she got closer to her house, she thought she saw somebody in her backyard, and she raced around the corner, but no one was there. Instinctively, she headed to the front of the house, only to see a Porsche heading down around the cul-de-sac. So he's getting bolder, she said. Just how bold will he get? At her door, she found the security lock was still on. Grateful she'd set it, she opened the door, disarmed the security, and let everybody back into the house. She reset it afterward. It was past dinner time, so she made a big healthy green salad with lots of raw veggies and a can of tuna, and then sat back outside while she thought about all the happenings so far. She didn't know about a lot of the connections here. The big one was, who was this killer for hire, and how would Mac and the local cops go after him? After all, he seemed to live in another province, not exactly Mac's territory. And what would the cops do about Jude Burns, the little pissant of a greedy, murdering son? While she ate her salad, her phone rang. It was Nan. Doreen put it on speaker. "Hello, Nan. I'm having a salad right now, with all your fresh veggies. Thanks again. What are you up to?" "I talked to Sylvia," she said. "She was Ed Burns's cleaning lady." "Oh," Doreen said. "I never thought about that angle. Is she in Rosemore with you?" "She is. She's one of the younger residents. I know she's always worried about not having enough money to make it through. Ed was supposed to leave her money too, but he didn't." "Wow, nice guy." "No, everybody thought it was all settled, but then Jude arrived with this new will that the new lawyer said was perfectly legal, and they took everything away from everybody." "Right, that's what I'm trying to fix," Doreen said. "She said there was another will because she was a witness to it." "Another one?" "Yes," Nan said, "and it's in Ed's home office somewhere. But if Jude found it, she figures he destroyed it." "Would that will supersede the one Jude produced?" "Yes. Not to mention you can't legally get into his house or that home office," Nan said. "No, it might take Mac to do that. I wonder though, can you find out where in the office it would be? Because if it was just in his desk, Jude would have definitely gotten rid of it. But if it had been hidden..." "His desk had a secret drawer," Nan said, "kind of like our furniture. It was an antique desk, and it was in there." "Do you know when he signed it?" "It was just a few days before he died. He was feeling angry with his son. Jude had only wanted to come back if something was in it for him to come back for. And he had no intention of waiting until his father died. His father was angry about the whole thing and called his lawyer to come over to his house and to draft a new will. But wouldn't the lawyer have had a copy? There was some discussion about it, and he was supposed to do something with it, but then, as far as I understand, he died. The lawyer did pass away, but he didn't pass away until after Ed Burns did. Although it was soon afterward." After hanging up with Nan, Doreen sent Mac a text. "Dingbat was here in the backyard." Her phone rang immediately. "Are you serious?" "I saw somebody come around the corner of the house as I came back from Nan's, so I went out front and saw the Porsche disappearing." There was silence on Mac's end of the call, but Doreen could hear his anger thrumming through the lines. "He didn't do anything," she said gently. "But he's getting bolder," Mac snapped. "Yeah, he is." "Also," she said, "Nan had an interesting tidbit, and she told him about the cleaning lady." "I'll have a talk with her myself tonight," Mac said. "If she confirms this, I need to open an investigation." "Good," Doreen said. "You need to make it official. I wish I could go to Ed Burns's home office and take a look. I did learn a lot about antiques and their secret drawers." Mac hesitated. "I can come with you." "No," he said. "We can't do that without a warrant, and I need cause in order to have a warrant." "I hear you there," she said, "but..." "No," he said firmly. "I'll talk with the cleaning lady, and I might stop in and talk with Jude too." "Good," she said. "I'd like to see him pee in his pants. I really don't like being threatened by him." "Maybe you could just stay out of trouble for once," Mac said in exasperation. "Maybe," Doreen said cheerfully. "But maybe not." And she hung up.